And we'll start recording here. We won't stop until the top of the hour. We start right on time, but we don't want to start prematurely because nobody's late yet. So if you want to text hey, Danny, how are you, man?
I'm good. Yeah. We're not late. We're early for a change. It's good.
Yeah. We just have a couple more seconds. We've got Ed and Rebecca Weens joining us from North Carolina. We've got Bo joining us here from Colorado, and we're going to really talk about this ASEA mission. So I know that Ed and Rebecca have an associate on their team who recently really began to appreciate the importance of having an income stream come in when you're unable to work. So I don't know how many of you have had that kind of situation, but we're going to be talking about that. All right. We just hit the top of the hour, so I want to welcome you to the ASEA Global Expansion Team Zoom. Tonight, our topic is the ASEA Mission. ASEA is such a huge thing, and so sometimes people metabolize bits and pieces of it, but they really don't metabolize what we're doing together on a global scale. We're not only bringing what's been called the most important scientific discovery in the health science field of our lifetime to the masses on a global scale, but we're also returning people to financial dignity. And that's as much a part of the puzzle as the physical piece. And I know, Danny, you've had experience from a physical perspective as well as a financial perspective. So, you can shed some light on that. I know that Bo has had an experience where he had an accident and wasn't able to work. And thank goodness we had a weekly compensation plan that was paying us weekly as long as the network was viable. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know Ed and Rebecca I was just saying that they have somebody in their organization who had some surgical needs recently. And she is so grateful that every Friday her bank account gets a deposit from ASEA because of the work that she did, not this week, but in the weeks previous. So it's been carrying her through her present time. So do you guys want to give us a little peek into that story, Ed and Rebecca?
Oh, happy to do that, Cindy. Hi, great to be with you and the rest of the folks, and Danny, Kayleen, Bo, all of you, Stevie. These are my Australian kids across the pond over there. I love getting a chance to just interact with them. But it's a great theme, Cindy. And I think, ultimately for everybody, this whole project kind of morphs beyond just a product that we acquire or a transactional kind of a business deal, much like it did for our founder. There was a point where in Vertus's world, Vertus's life, this became more than a business deal. It became a mission. It became a project that was way bigger than any business transaction, thankfully. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't even know about this. And I think we all kind of have that moment in our continuum here where this is bigger. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than us getting a product that hopefully, enhances our health, but where our focus begins to turn outward and we realize this is a big deal. This is a project that we get a chance to be a part of. And you don't know how that's going to impact different individuals that are part of the extended reach of your word of mouth. And, the specific instance you're referring to, of course, is Paula, or as the Filipinos like to call her, Mommy Paula. And just a great story. Here's a lady that had to quit teaching school in a private school setting some years ago because of health challenges, and had a real health setback, and found out about this product and got great benefit and just began to share it like people with a conscience do. Shared it with people in her quilting organization, her church group, and her small little circle lives in a town of less than 500. And today, excuse me, I got some water here somewhere. I'm going to borrow one of yours. Okay.
It's okay.
Her little word of mouth ripple effect enterprise is, I think, down to 9 countries now. And you're right, she had a setback recently where she had surgery, and the way the product played a role in her health is a whole nother story. But the financial part of this has been consistent, and you're right, she's not missed a paycheck. in fact, we went to visit them recently, and her husband, who's interesting guy, not a lot of words necessarily, and he's kind of been a cheerleader on the sideline, but he has grabbed a hold of this term that we're all using called comma check. He says, boy, that's a real thing, you know. He says we haven't missed, and it's almost a comma check every week now for them. But it's been fun to see how that little bit of financial dignity has restored some security to their life at a time in their life where they'd be panicked if they didn't have it. And to have been a part of bringing that message to them, message of this 4 or 5 years ago, is gratifying to us, and we just love that story. A lot of folks like them out there. They just need this. They need this, and they just simply don't know about it.
Absolutely. Rebecca, I know you had a little incident at one point. You didn't come from the network marketing world, and so you married into the network marketing world. And I know we're kind of, looking at it from the outside in, and so you can tell us a little bit about that. But as you, kind of dipped your toe in the water, and at one point you had a health setback, and you told me a story today about, all of a sudden it dawned on me. Go ahead and tell that. I don't want to take away your fire, but you were telling me today that this way of working is, was so much different than you having to check into an office every day, right?
Right. I would often feel lazy, actually, because I didn't, punch a clock at a certain time, go there and leave at a certain time. But I had been a full-time nurse when we first got involved with ASEA. And when I decided to leave my job 3 years into it, I had a health setback right away as soon as I decided to go full-time with ASEA. And I remember coming home from the hospital, and I was on my sofa and I couldn't lay my head flat because I couldn't increase pressure in my head. So I had a big wedge pillow, and I remember sitting there answering people's text and looking in my back office, and I said, I am 72 hours post brain surgery and I'm working. Now, never mind that I couldn't even think about going back to nursing if I had wanted to, but I was actually working and creating income from my sofa. And that's when it was like, okay, I can do this. This is good to me. I like it. And then I realized as time went on, Thanksgiving came and Christmas came, and I didn't have to ask off. I didn't have to worry about if I was going to be able to get all my kids together at this time, because that's the only time I could be off. I could set my own time. That was priceless to me. And now I don't know how I'd ever go back. I don't know how I would ever go back to being employed.
Yeah.
There's a comedian that's our favorite comedian, and I'll just give him a plug. His name is Brian Regan, Regan. He's also Chuck Funky's favorite comedian too. And if you've got 10-year-olds in the household, they can watch his stuff because it's all clean. It's just hilarious. But he has a really funny sketch about boarding an airplane, and all the first class people get on first, and then when you're going to sit way in the back, you're walking past all the first class people, and he said they got their laptops out and they got their phones out, and they're punching away, and they're looking up at you as you walk by and say, "We're making money right now." So we kind of have that little line sometimes. We just look at each other and say, "We're making money right now," and we might be on a boat, we might be on a plane, in the car someplace. So
in the car a lot.
That's just become a little byline in our family culture. We're making money right now. So
Absolutely. Well, there's a time where people get into ASEA, and then there's another time where ASEA gets into you. And it's different for everybody when that moment happens, but when it happens, you just, you look back just thinking, holy smokes. I remember, going down to Australia and having this lady come up to me and saying, "Are you Cindy Buck?" And I thought, uh-oh, I'm in trouble now. What did I do? And she said, "I just want to thank you." And I said, "You want to thank me for what?" And she said, "Well, you told somebody who told somebody who told somebody about a technology that made sense to me. So I invested in that, redox concept. And because I did that, my son now lives a much better quality of life. So I want to thank you." And I thought, what an incredible distribution method, because I believe so much in what we're doing that I told somebody, but that was only one part of the communication chain. That person had to tell somebody, and that person had to tell somebody, and that person had to tell somebody. And this message was shared from the Northern Hemisphere all the way down into the Southern Hemisphere into this lady's house who we've never met. And because she invested in the concept that we're rippling out there, her son now lives a better quality of life. And we had a small piece in that. But the cool thing is that every single person in that communication chain played a little part in that little boy's quality of life. Which, so if people don't understand the distribution network or method of network marketing, they haven't had that kind of thing happen to them. And when that happens to you, you really start to hold your chin high and say, you know what, I'm sorry, this is so misunderstood, but this is a really good distribution method, right? Rebecca, even though you didn't, necessarily embrace it from the beginning, how do you feel about it now?
I don't know any business that's any more fair than this model, because you get paid according to how hard you work. When I was a nurse, I could have been the hardest working nurse on my floor. And when it came time for raises, it was typically across the board raises. And now, we have people that we enrolled that make more than we do. And that's fair. Is based on how hard you work.
No, it's not.
How hard you work and how much you're willing to put into it. If they want to work 70 hours a week, God bless them. But it's a fair business.
It is.
Business model.
There you go. Well, Bo, I know you had a little setback. We were, in Hawaii, and you had a little mishap happen to you in the waves of Hawaii. Do you want to tell that story as much as you want to share and talk about how that residual income saved our backs?
Yeah, I'm actually going to start with another story really quick. And it was when we were down in Australia for 5 weeks when ASEA opened Australia. And we had been in the business for quite a while. But the bottom line is we were there for 5 weeks, traveling all over Australia. We had meetings 2 and 3 times a day. We weren't attending to necessarily our team in the United States, but they had already, gotten involved and understood what was going on, and they were kind of independent. And all I know is every Friday a check showed up in our account, and it was phenomenal. You're on the road and you're, oh geez, we get paid tomorrow. This weekly check thing is amazing. The other story that you were talking about, it was only about a year and a half ago when we were in Maui for the team, or for the Diamond Summit. And we stayed on a little bit afterwards. And in Maui, I had an accident body surfing, and I ended up paralyzed temporarily, thank God. But, there were obviously more important things for us to attend to at that time than, our business. And the bottom line is the check came every Friday again. No matter what, if you build this business and educate your team so they can duplicate each other, the check's still going to come. And it's not about, absolutely it's about the lifestyle. We live a fantastic lifestyle, but it's more about the financial stability, the financial security that we can have by sharing this technology with people, by actually making a living, by making a difference. And oh yeah, they pay me for it. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and Danny, I know that you didn't come necessarily from the network marketing world. You came out of corporate America into this network marketing business model. And I know originally you were looking for health reasons, and then it became obvious this is one heck of a business. But more than a business, it was really a mission. I don't know how obligated you felt to share, but I have a feeling you felt pretty obligated.
Yeah, I was like Rebecca. I say in my presentations, if you came to me 10 years ago with Amway this way or that way, I'd definitely run the other way. Couldn't stand the business model, network marketing, because I didn't believe in it, but I didn't look into it. I stayed naive to the fact of how big this was and what it could potentially do for individuals. Well, let's fast forward. You guys talking about what you've spoken about, I've just got shivers and goosebumps just hearing all this, because it took me back on my journey and where we are today. But I've got my grandparents in here. If it wasn't for Ed and Rebecca Weens, who aren't my biological grandparents, I'm way too old to be their grandson, and they're way too young to be my grandparents biologically. But if it wasn't for them in the genealogy, and Cindy, you spoke about that one missing link. If these guys didn't take it on, but Melissa wouldn't have heard of it. Well, maybe they wouldn't have taken it on because they did hear about it several times and I wouldn't have known about it. So I physically wouldn't be here. And there's a story way beyond them. And obviously, you know, there's you guys as well and everything that's transpired and everything that's built this company to what it is today, which is just absolutely amazing. To know that there was this business model there the whole time when I was working my backside off in traditional businesses and buying myself jobs on a regular basis. You know, I just wish somebody smacked me in the head so many years ago and told me there was a better way. There was a different way. There was a way that we could, you know, help a lot of people, but advance ourselves definitely financially. But we've got this incredible breakthrough as well, which well and truly helped me with my health. I think something we've got to do these days, hopefully I'm not talking out of school or people don't like what I say, but we've got to educate ourselves a lot more with what's going on around the world. I mean, the pandemic started beginning of last year. I remember we were talking as far as a team and everybody saying, hey, we're going to have presentations and meetings again in the near future. And that was going to happen in the next year, last year and the beginning of this year. Didn't happen. I could see sort of where that was going and how big that was going to be and how it was going to impact the world. So what I try to do personally these days, I'm going off tangent a bit, is educate myself on actually what's going on. I don't think this has touched the sides. I still think that the next 3 to 5 years that we need to set ourselves up financially. I'm talking about generational wealth in a very short period of time. 3 to 5 years isn't too long. You know, I spoke to, well, actually it was you, Cindy. I sent you a message just in regards to 2008, and I thought that was just I think that's just a rain shower to what's coming. I keep an eye on what's going on financially around the world and trying to keep myself up to date. We need to be prepared. I mean, you guys know, like I didn't know about this business model 10 years ago, or I didn't want to borrow it. You guys know it's here. We've got an incredible breakthrough with this incredible opportunity behind it. We need to build that insurance policy. You know, these guys talking about, and myself, getting a check every single week, we still got to put in the time and effort. One day I'll get to the point where we may not have to do as much, but not that we're going to stop because of what this can do for people, how we can help individuals. We'll never stop helping people, but we really need to set ourselves up, create that residual now. We've got the best opportunity we'll ever see, ever in our lifetime. I don't think there'll be a bigger opportunity because of how big this breakthrough is. So yeah, I think these guys on this call are the lucky ones hearing what you guys have got to say and making sure we can guide people in the right direction. But I stay clear of watching television these days, watching the news. I make my own decisions. I sort of collect information and make hopefully intelligent decisions because we can't afford to make mistakes in this climate. So guys, run with this. You know, it's a great opportunity to build a residual income, substantial if you want, depends on how much time and effort you put in.
Absolutely. You know, and when you buy product from an ASEA associate, right, you're supporting the middle class, you're supporting the American dream, you're supporting the small business person. You know, if you were to buy this from a grocery store, which you can't do, or if you were to buy this from some, you know, direct sales thing online, which you occasionally can do, you're missing the whole point because you're not supporting the small business people along the way that are, you know, sharing this with other people, you know, paying their bills, you know, the whole middle class of the country that is being supported by network marketing. I was going to show a slide. Let me just show this, see if I can share my screen for a second.
While you're doing that, Cindy, that's a great way, you know, to look at it. We're all individuals. We've all got our own individual businesses. There's a lot of people involved in network marketing around the world. Yes, there's a big company behind it, but there's so many individuals that this is actually helping and supporting, which is amazing.
Yeah, if you take a look at this graph, most people don't understand this, but if you compare the network marketing industry to other huge industries, you realize how much money this industry pays out to the general public on a global scale. So when you're buying a product from a network marketing person, you are contributing to this massive industry. So, I mean, you look at Jeff Bezos and, you know, he's spending money, you know, going to the moon, I don't know how many billions that costs, so if you buy a product from Amazon, great, you just contributed to another trip for Jeff Bezos to go to the moon. But if you buy a product from an ASEA associate, you're supporting somebody's life. And then there's that ripple effect that we've talked about. And so many people miss that. They don't understand the community of entrepreneurs that they're supporting when they buy a product from a network marketer. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
Well, I mean, my experience, if it wasn't for Ed and Rebecca, as I said, I wouldn't be here. So as far as I'm concerned, they were a big part of saving my life. But if you look at the actual business model, and I always say in my presentations, it was the actual business model that saved my life, because if it wasn't for the business model, I wouldn't have had the ability to help others that actually paid me the thank you checks that I invested in a product to saturate my body, to find the damage, to tell my body where the problem was. So it was the business model literally behind this incredible breakthrough that saved my life in more than one way.
Cindy, I think hopefully all of us have some fiber of moral compulsion that at some point we get jarred out of just looking at our circumstances from a self-interest point of view, and we begin to think about things in a bigger perspective. We begin thinking about people beyond our immediate circle. Of course, this business, I always tell folks, you know who you know, but you don't know who they know. I didn't know Danny. I knew Bart, who knew Danny. And Danny's known other folks, and he's introduced us to people that have been introduced to people that he didn't know. That's the power of the ripple effect here. But that moral compulsion has to take over at some point, where it becomes more than just about me getting a product at the best deal, and thinking of it in terms of a much bigger picture. I mean, I oftentimes will pull stories out of the biblical record because they're so relevant to life. And there's a great story in the Old Testament record about a city that was besieged by its enemies and, surrounded. The people were starving. They couldn't get food in. The water supply had been cut off. And there was a real amazing, miraculous event that took place where the army that had them surrounded was frightened to the point where they just got up and literally ran for their lives in the middle of the night. And outside of the camp, there were some lepers, unhealthy, wounded people, terminally ill people who had been banished from the city, because that's how lepers were treated. And they finally decided, you know what, we're starving. If we go into the enemy camp, they'll probably kill us. But if we're going to die anyway. So what do we got to lose? Let's just kind of go. And so they went to the enemy camp and found it completely deserted with all this food and all this storehouse of stuff. And they just gorged themselves because they were famished. And finally they came to their senses and said, it's not right. It's not right that we sit here and we completely just stuff ourselves with all this food when our city mates, our friends, our family are starving in the city. And that's when the moral conviction took over beyond just my immediate needs. And they went back and said, listen, guys, the camp's abandoned. Come on out here. And the city then, of course, came out and, they enjoyed all the plunder. So that switch has to take place. That's what makes this a mission. Virtus could have just said, you know what? This is a great offer. My family's going to be secure. My grandchildren, my future generations, but this is not just about us. This is about a much bigger mission, and we have got to embrace that same kind of mentality to realize that, think about it, you're talking about going to the moon. Those are called missions for a reason, those lunar missions, whatever, because it takes so many people and moving parts to make something like that happen. And the janitor who's cleaning the facilities somehow has to buy into, if he doesn't do his part, that the big mission won't be accomplished. And so we've got a role to play, a responsibility, a moral obligation. I think, Rebecca never approached her job as a nurse from the standpoint of just getting a paycheck. It was always a mission to her. I'm a missionary's kid. I grew up in the mission field. So to me, to embrace the concept of mission here is natural. And I love the fact that, I'm wearing, in fact, Stevie, I'm wearing my Malulaba Surf Club, just my shout out to my Australians here, because the mission, the ripple effect here has reached around the world. And it's just,
I'm a little bit more simple-minded, so I'll just share my simple thoughts about this all. I don't even understand why you wouldn't become a part of the organization, because you can go buy a product somewhere else, somewhere online. But first of all, you have very little education about it, and you have no support to get that education. And next of all, you can tell 1,000 people, and you're not going to benefit financially one single bit. Just someone you don't even know will. So it just doesn't make logical sense to me for me to do that when I have the opportunity to earn commission on sharing with other people, rather than saying, oh, you can go to Amazon, you can go to eBay, you can go to Google this and find this here. I don't know why I would do that, just to throw that. It's like throwing money to the wind to me, when they can get a better product that they have a guarantee of, and they have support behind them to be educated and to know what they're actually sharing with the next person, instead of just, oh, I use this product, it's good, try it. I don't, it just doesn't even compute with me why anyone would do it. But I know that it does happen. I know that some people opt for just saving $2 when in the end it costs them a whole lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you think about, we're open in 33 countries around the world. So, you know, how would you market this if it wasn't through word of mouth? And the fact that we can, as associates, tap into the multi-million-dollar infrastructure that ASEA has put in place. I mean, I'm entrepreneurial, but I don't have the wherewithal to put up the warehouses and the IT and the legal and the R&D and all that stuff together. I just couldn't do that. But when simple people, regular people, can partner with a corporation and tap into what the corporation has put together, it's unbelievable. And then from there, build a career that pays them, you know, a part-time income, a full-time income, or a big time income beyond their own physical presence. I mean, when people really understand why this is marketed the way it is, and how the whole distribution method works, I'm with you, Rebecca. It just doesn't make sense. And like you said, Ed, it becomes a moral obligation. Once you know what this discovery does for people, you worry more about what's going to happen to them if you don't tell them about it than what they're going to think about you if you do tell them about it, right?
Right.
We had some family members of Rebecca's at an event here last week. We've been around them the whole time. We've been associated with this, and we finally invited him to this ASEA event. And his words to us afterwards: "Why didn't you tell us about this sooner?"
Yeah. Well, we're coming to the bottom of the half hour. I don't know, Danny, Bo, Ed, Rebecca, if you have any final words about, you know, just kind of giving people the view into the bigger picture of what this is. The mission of ASEA, it's way bigger than molecules. It's way bigger than making a buck. It's a huge undertaking. I mean, I remember when I saw this, I went from thinking, you know, is this good enough for me, to, oh my gosh, am I good enough for this? It was so big and so pure that, I mean, a lot of people really haven't done the due diligence to understand what we have in our hands.
Well, people who are looking at this, I can just tell you, you will very rarely ever in your life have a chance to be a part of a project that is so noble and so worthwhile, and that's born of such a vision and a mission to impact the world. Very rarely in your life those opportunities will ever come. This is one. Don't miss it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that would. Oh, sorry, Danny.
Go for it. You're bigger than me, mate. You go for it.
I just think when we look at the mission of ASEA to be a force for good in the world, and we can think just in our group where we went to, I think a name that most of you know, Debbie Wetzler, who was a single mother. She was recently divorced because of different business mishaps, not of her fault at all. She was in foreclosure on her home. Now, Cindy called up Debbie and shared this technology with her, not because we were trying to make a buck, because we were trying to share what it was all about. The technology, the opportunity was in mind also. But then Debbie went on to someone that was absolutely against network marketing because he had been burned, which was David Silverman, and just called him because she knew the technology she had could help his father. Not to try and bring him in the business, but to help his father. And between those two, there are tens of thousands, probably 100,000 people that know about this technology because they just shared with each other. It's a win-win, being a force for good in the world. And I think it's a tremendous way to just to live our life, to share with people and to share the vision of ASEA.
Yeah, and I don't think we're being biased. We're all passionate about what we have. We know what it can do. We know how it can help people. If you love helping people, I don't think you'll find a better way or a bigger way that we can help people in so many ways. Just with what Ed said, this is a huge project. We have this purpose-filled mission where we can help a lot of people around the world in so many ways. Guys, protect yourself from what's going on. Create a bubble. Don't depend on anybody, governments. Just get out there and just do it yourself. Just go and help people and protect yourself from what's going on. And I believe you won't find a shinier object than the one we have now.
Absolutely. I know that there's a gentleman over in Hungary who has been in network marketing for a number of years, but when he joined ASEA, he had only worked this company for a little while, you know, a couple of months, 10 months maybe. And he said, I have had at least 10 people come up to me with tears in their eyes, thanking me, just saying, I don't even know where I'd be if you hadn't called me. Thank you so much for caring enough about me, for reaching out and telling me about ASEA. And he said in all of his years in business, he's never had that kind of impact on people. He's never had people be so grateful that he had the courage and the passion and the belief to reach out and tell other people about this. And so, I mean, it's business with a whole new twist because it's so much more than just making a paycheck, and it's so much more than just selling a product. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us tonight on the ASEA Global Expansion Team Zoom. We'll see you again next Monday, and I want to thank all of our panelists. Good night, everybody.